Hello, hello! Today we are recapping episode 12 of the Dicely campaign. Links are in my bio if you would like to catch up on the episode. So I just gotta come out right away and say that this episode, episode 12, has been my favorite episode of the campaign so far. This episode just has everything in it. We have some awesome world building and narration from our DM. We get introduced to a couple cute new little NPCs that I am not excited to see betray us. We have some really awesome combat, including some interesting puzzles. And then we have sadness, big emotion, some cool roleplay, and really interesting character moments and character growth. So let's start at the beginning and work our way through this whole thing. We begin with fantasy brunch. Denny prepared this whole menu and experience for us. We got fancy cocktails, yummy breakfasts, elven garlic bread. And it was, again, just like a great world-building moment, character-building moment. And just who doesn't love brunch? After brunch, it is to the library, and we are determined this time that we are gonna get in there. But, of course, we get up there and the campus is weirdly quiet. When we enter the Arkanette Institute, which houses this big, beautiful library, we're greeted by the receptionist, Yulumfa, who is this adorable dwarven orcish woman. I believe she was part dwarf, part orc, but just major Mrs. Pot vibes. Super cute lady who tells us that we can't go into the library because it's filled with ghosts. Of course it is. But if there's one thing Elwyn cares about, it is books. So Elwyn is quite vocal to speak up and suggest that this party could help take care of the ghost problem. And Yulumfa agrees that we could go in. Drac and Gideon especially are not feeling great about this. Ryan's playing Gideon in such a fun way, where Gideon is just this like really sheltered person. He's just like a normal human. He's heard of ghost stories before, but he didn't know that ghosts were real, which is wild to a character like Elwyn, who has spent the majority of her life studying folktale and story, and she knows that most stories stem from reality. And Drac also is our resident cleric, but as he's multi-classed cleric monk, I think he is not so confident in his cleric abilities. In any case, though, the team does move down into the library, and we are immediately hit with a wave of despair. Which makes sense for ghosts, but honestly, I didn't really think about it beforehand. We get down here and we're quickly attacked by these little orbs of light. We learned that a couple days ago, someone had been in the library and they'd been messing around in the psychology section. And so as these orbs descend on the party and start to attack, Elwyn runs back to that section to check and see if there's anything there. And I have to kind of sort through the books in the psychology section, but I do eventually find a packet of 5 books that are bound together with leather and are giving off a faint magical aura. So Elwyn pulls those books down, she takes the bindings off, and she starts flipping them open. And the books are named in a way that indicates that we're dealing with the 5 stages of grief. It becomes clear pretty quickly that the puzzle is that we need to open these books in the correct order for the 5 stages. And so Elwyn brings the books back to the party. The moment that I open a book that's incorrect, one of the orbs in the room shifts and becomes a fully formed specter. An elven woman who looks like she's been drowned with her clothes sticking to her skin, her hair wet. And when this ghost appears, again, a wave of sorrow goes out across the room. We all make wisdom saving throws to keep from being frightened. But, and I forgot that this is a thing ghosts can do in D&D, if you fail your wisdom saving throw by enough, a ghost can actually scare you so much that you age. And so when this first ghost showed up, both Abe and Azaria failed their wisdom saving throws by enough that they were both aged 40, 50 years. And this is something that has impact on a character. For a shorter lived character like Gideon or Drac, this could be a very early and instant death. And this was quite frightening when it happened to our party as well, because Azaria, while they're quite old already, we weren't 100% sure what their actual lifespan was. So I think Logan spent the rest of that fight quickly trying to figure out how long their character was supposed to live. And Abe is an Argon folk, and all of the Argon folk were created together 50 years ago. So no one knows how long Argon folk live. And Abe aging makes him the oldest Argon folk in existence. So it was a very tense moment in this library as this started to happen. Logan did some really incredible narration here as well. He's playing a part Eladrin character, and one of the defining characteristics of Azaria is that their appearance changes as the seasons change. So they grow flowers in the spring and summer, hair and leaves turn orangey yellow in the fall, and fall off in the winter. And so to see Azaria age 70 years in the span of seconds, the way that Logan explained what Azaria's aging looked like is all of their flowers growing and falling in cyclical fashion over and over again very quickly as they sped through the years, which was horrifying and obviously very physically draining on Azaria. We managed to get the books open, finish the puzzle. Nell ran to Abe, I ran to Azaria. Everyone was still alive, at least. We finish out the battle in here and we leave. We talk to Yulumfa about what happened down in the library and how Azaria and Abe were aged by these ghosts. Yulumfa gives us 250 gold pieces, and we take that to the clerics at the bottom of the hill. They tell us that that's only enough gold for one greater restoration, which will cure one of the two of them, but we have to decide which one. And because, again, this is the most morally good party, no one wants to take it. Now that we realize that Rhea is not in immediate crisis, it does seem to make sense that it goes towards Abe. So with some convincing, we get Abe the greater restoration. But it's a very bittersweet win. The whole party has just a weight on our shoulders now. Azaria goes off by themselves to go meditate in the forest. Abe also goes off on his own. This is something that he hasn't really expressed to the party, I don't think. But it's also starting to become clear that Abe sensory deprivation going on. Finally, the whole party comes back together to have tea at the tavern. Elwyn herself speaks up. During brunch, the party finally came up with a name for our group, the Seekers of Sicramund. Before this point, Elwyn had imagined this party as just a group of people who are traveling together because it's easier to travel together. Traveling together out of necessity, out of convenience, but not because we are actually friends or a group. And she always imagined that someday Drac was going to go leave to find his brother, Nell was going to go leave to deal with her family, Azaria was probably going to go back to Starcross eventually. But now that the group has a name and everyone else is talking like we are a group, a unit, I think that was something new for Elwyn. Elwyn has lived a very solitary life, and she's used to being a burden on people. Up until meeting Waylayla, she had, or at least she thought she had, really nothing to offer a group. She can't fight, she can't carry things, she can't walk for long distances. And it's maybe a whole other thing in her head that the only time she's ever been able to make real friends is because some magical deity has bestowed magical powers upon her. And it is actually kind of scary how reliant I am becoming on Waylayla now. But now I feel like I need these powers to keep the only friends I've ever had also. So I'm starting to get a little concerned about how committed I am to Waylayla. This was a necessary step for me and for Elwyn, I think. I have a tendency to play characters that don't necessarily want to be part of the party or don't necessarily like the people they're traveling with. So I'm glad that I have finally found a way to shift Elwyn's mindset, because again, I don't think Elwyn really considered any of these people friends before this point, except for maybe Rhea. But now there's a whole group of people who actually want her around and actually think that she's a useful part of a team. And I think she's going to make a real effort now to try to prove to them that she appreciates that and she wants them to continue to want her. So while I don't know that externally the roleplay will change all that much, internally, my mindset has definitely changed. Anyways, I have rambled on long enough. The next episode of the Play Dicely campaign will be going live this Saturday, October the 9th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/DicelyDND. You can also follow at DicelyDND on Twitter, or you can follow me on Twitter at Dallisor. Links to all of these things will be up in my bio. That's all for this time though, my friends. Stay happy, stay kind, and as always, play Dicely.